So why you are wearing tie now?
I've just been at work, just come back from work, not had a chance, but I thought I'd dress up for you, Abdullah. So.
That's okay. That's okay. So I mean, there is no script here. No,
Okay.
there is no rule here. So you can just talk
Okay.
and then whatever comes. So first of all, thank you so much for making the time.
That's okay, not a problem.
You are one of those students. Just like you're always there.
Always there.
Yeah. And then I saw like, oh, you are becoming a teacher and a school.
Yeah.
Then you became a school teacher just next door.
I know.
Can you give us a bit of, a small bio of you, like what's happening last like 3-4 years? When did you decide that you want to be a teacher, school teacher?
It's always been there. I've always wanted to work in education. I've always wanted to teach. I was quite influenced by a teacher, and I mean, if you speak to any teacher, they'll say they're influenced by a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And I was influenced by my 6-year psychology teacher at secondary school.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything about him, the way he was, his manner, his humour, the way he would just make you focus and work. And I thought, if this is the business this guy's in, this is the business I want to be in. So it's always been there. I mean, ideally, the big dream where I want my sort of career path in education to take me is in either further or higher education.
Mm.
That's sort of the end goal. It's always been. I mean, I've played around with other, looked into other careers. Like I was always interested in law, psychology, counselling, things like that. But yeah, it's always it's hard to describe. It's just always been there. And then this opportunity came, and it was the right time, the right place, and I went for it, and they accepted me on the course, and that's that. So yeah.
So like, I mean, in terms of this, I think this is a 1-year training program.
Yeah. It's 9 months.
9 months.
9 months. Yeah.
I mean, how intense the course is?
Extremely intense. I mean, it's very, very intensive. Very steep learning curve. So obviously, you would have periods where you would be on campus. So I would travel to Aberdeen, have subject-specific classes, and then you would have the entire teaching cohort lectures. So you'd be in with the primary teachers and secondary teachers from other subjects. And then you have the coursework on top of that. Very intensive literature reading as well. Just getting educational theory, child psychology, and then you have to do placements in school. You have to do as part of your course. So I was placed in 2 schools with all this on top. And then the course finishes in May, and then you get a little bit of a break, but you're kind of preparing for your NPT year, and then in August it's thrown straight into my NPT year. So it's very fast. You kind of think, oh, I've got a bit of time to just sort of sit back and take this in. No, it's like bang, 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 bang. Extremely intensive, but probably one of the most rewarding things I've done. I think that period I really did find myself and find my confidence as well, and realised that I did have quite good skills, organisational skills, time management. I mean, one of the greatest commodities for teachers and those in the education profession is time. You have to manage your time really well, and that PGDE course really did make you move your time management skills up to like 150%, and you have to be on the ball all the time, or you fall back easily, and it's hard to catch up. So we were the social subjects cohort. We were the biggest cohort on the course, and I'm still in touch with a few of them, and I think I was very close with 10 people. Only myself and 2 others have remained in the profession, and about I'd last heard about 75% of that cohort, the 2019-2020 cohort, actually left the profession entirely, or didn't start their NQT, or they dropped off because of the intensive nature of it. So it really does sift those that are serious about it. It does sift out the ones that are perhaps not, or it's too soon for them, or they didn't realise the intensive nature. So it does have a high turnover in terms of people dropping out. So
no, I mean, that's one of the thing. Like, I mean, we are teachers. You are a teacher. I am a teacher myself. I think we are like different kind of species. I mean, no, we are. I don't know. I mean, unless you have that kind of, I don't know, like hardwired with that kind of.
That's
it. Yeah, just cannot do it. I mean, no. So I was in a different profession before I actually joined in the teaching profession. And that did not work for me. I mean, it was a really, really good job I was, doing. It's a very, very, like, I mean, high profile civil service. Then, started a PhD, got no idea, and started working in a call center, to go through my PhD. It's just the story. Because I was totally a misfit in my previous job. I just didn't like a single day.
When I went into retail and stuff, and in the management team, God, I hated it. It was travel, and I woke up. You get out of bed and you think, oh, I really just don't want to go in. I don't want to get up. However, now, never ever had a day like that. Never. I get up. I look forward to going to my work. I think it does sound trite, but it is a calling. You know what I mean? Like, there's some people that do it for the money and the status and the nice benefits and the packages. But for me, it really is a call. I mean, I could do the job for free. I really could. I mean, I come home and have a rant about my day, and all the admin work and stuff I do on top of my class contact stuff. But I could never imagine doing anywhere else at the moment. So
it's like, like at one point it will become your like hobby, like.
Oh yeah. It feels like that. It feels like that now. Yeah, it does. It does. Quite early on in my career, it does feel like it does feel like a hobby. I love doing all that. Lesson creativity and it's just great.
I mean, especially like I'll tell my own story as well as a like side story. Because I mean, I think I'm not good in like thinking about myself. I suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder. So so one thing really helps, like get involved with creative stuff. So like I think teaching is one of the profession is still very, very creative. So every day is a different day. Every day you will meet different people, different cohort, different ideas, different all kind of things. And especially when you teach politics, international relations, this is we are talking about the live events happening in front of you.
It's interesting to say that. I mean, some weeks I could have nothing happen, it'd just be standard, and then all of a sudden, one week everything's kicking off. You've got a fight in your classroom, you've got a chair thrown at you, somebody's wrestling out in the corridor, just bonkers, and it just makes the experience so worthwhile. Not that I'm condoning, sitting watching kids that are up in your classroom or anything like that, but it does.
Because like my memories, like going to school, my earliest years, I spent time in Bangladesh. So I went to a school in Bangladesh. So these are like private school we are talking about, But the corporal punishments were like just horrendous, like, I mean, I think this country stopped them long time ago, but places like Bangladesh, I think they must have stopped it. But in my time, I mean, on the first day I went to school, I was beaten up by the head teacher.
it's all relationships for learning now and restorative practice. So, you know, if a kid says something pretty rude to you, or disrupts your lesson, you've got to sit and have a conversation with them and understand where they're coming from and where their anger's from. That's what sort of the disciplinary side is now.
Mm.
You know, and things like verbal warnings, formal warnings, punishment exercises, detention. So that's kind of the measures in school these days. But I won't get myself into trouble about if
No,
they
no,
work or not. Yeah.
like I've got two young daughters. I know, I sense some of the things they go through. I mean, but also I think, especially in the high school teachers, I think these people are. I think these people should be rewarded much bigger salary, much bigger, you know, like other things, you know, so that they are being supported. Because I mean, you guys are dealing with the people. These are the coming to the, you know, so these people are opening up to the world.
Yeah.
So these people are becoming 13, 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
These are the toughest times of lives.
Yeah. And at the moment, you know, we're mopping up the impact of 2 lockdowns and the coronavirus. I mean, we were still, when the lockdowns were happening, we were still working. We were in our building. We were doing live learning. We had to upskill very quickly. We're still producing materials and doing report writing, marking, feedback, and now we're still mopping that up. And I think it's particularly difficult now because you do see a real lack of engagement, like particularly at the senior phase. So kids from like 4th year up to 6th year have just completely lost all motivation. They don't believe that there's going to be exams next year. Some of them have developed severe mental health issues. You know, I taught her last year, very bubbly, very bright, and she come back after the second lockdown when we returned to school in March, and she was a totally different person. And just the other week, I was dealing with her having a full-blown panic attack in my lesson. So we're dealing with all that as well, you know. And your point about, you know, salary and packaging and stuff, yeah, I suppose we could be paid more. But there is positives. I mean, you know, we've got some great trade unions. I mean, the trade unions do have a bad rap these days because people don't feel they're strong enough or tough enough. But if the educational unions, like I'm a member of the SSTA, which is the Scottish Secondary Teachers Association, a union purely for secondary teachers, and by God do they fight their corner. They ensure that you have a decent package. Once you get your permanent contract, which I do, you have job security for life. You know, it's going to be very difficult for any school to get rid of it unless it's something extremely serious.
Yeah.
You know, paid holidays, fairly decent pension.
Yeah.
So but I don't do the job for that stuff. It's nice, it's great, but if you're really passionate about education, which I am, and education of all levels, you know, from early years up to university level, because it is a transformative process. It really does transform you and transform the path in front of you. You know.
And I think, like, you know, if I see myself as a teacher over the years, I think I became a much better person. The person I was like 20 years ago. I came out as a really, really strong, you know, this like ideas about what kind of society we really want.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, I mean, I was giving this example to my class as well. I mean, it might be controversial. Do you know, like, I mean, this, like, our royal family, I mean, every now and then they do those like celebration and they invite people to come to the, you know, palace and have a tea with them. So this is like random selection. So I think that if I get the invitation, I'll not go there. I cannot go there.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah.
so I've got this now strong conviction that no, I just cannot do it anymore, because some of the things are just not, not right anymore. Don't need these people. We don't need royals. We don't need, kings and queens.
No, I'm trying to create the new generation of Republicans in my classes at the moment. Yeah,
But
yeah. It's really interesting what you say, because thinking back, I've become. I mean, I was always sort of socially liberal. I mean, I always believed in I don't care what sexuality you are, what colour you are, what language you speak. It didn't bother me at all. And then as I've gone through this process and seen the mental anguish that many kids go through trying to discover themselves and find their stances on things, it's actually hardened my beliefs in this stuff and what sort of society we need. And many teachers I speak to, like a lot of my colleagues, they're extremely progressive, extremely progressive. And just with what we sort of have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, but it's certainly hardened my social stances so far, because I now see, we have kids that are identifying as a different gender and they've changed their name, and some teachers, some of the old guard are a bit sort of, sniffing their nose up at it, but for us it's second nature now. It's just, this is normal, society does go through evolutions, So, no, it's a good point. I'd certainly have become more moral, much more intolerant of injustice.
Yeah.
And I just cannot stomach injustice at all. Inequality, poverty. I see kids on a day-to-day basis whose families can't even afford a pencil. A pack of 20 pencils for 15 pence, because that means they're not going to have enough money to top up their electric meter. And I see that on a daily basis, and it makes me furious. Furious.
Like the things we're talking about, the progress of the society. I think this is fascinating to watch. Things are happening in front of you. Even like my daughter, like 12 years, 13 years. I started talking to them about this like gender politics. I mean, and they are very, very upright about this, rights of the people. And so like in our household, we have to be very careful what we talk, what we say, because these two young persons are watching us all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of the credit actually goes to you guys, because they are learning things from the school. And so I think the school actually this way, that way, like plays a big role in our life. Like things you told me that you inspired by this school teacher. Everyone inspired. So I still remember like 2 or 3 school teachers were just amazing. I still remember amazing teachers, the kindest people. These are the kindest people. They put no interest on anything. You don't find them, these people are selfish, or like they need something, greed, anything. No, these people are genuinely good people. Still, you feel, oh my God, in those days, in those kind of settings, these people, genuinely good people. I mean, so
absolutely, yeah. Couldn't put it better myself.
So you finished your like this training programs. It looks like the training program is quite intense, and then and that's quite a staggering number, isn't it? 75%.
Yeah, it's about 75%. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but it was about that. So it does break a lot of people. It does break, and there is a big dropout of people that have completed the course and they're going into their NQT year, so that's a full-time paid placement in a school in a local authority for the last part of your training. a lot of people either drop out midway through that or will leave at the end of their NPT year. They can't do it, can't do it. And I know of a few people that have done that, so which is a real shame. But it's you do have to have a very tough sort of core of metal through you to get through it. Do you know what I mean? It's extremely intense, and you're juggling so many balls. You've got as I said, your literature, coursework, placements in schools, traveling to campus, all those sorts of things. And yeah, it's really intense, really intense.
Do you think like instead of like having these just 9 months course, do you think if it were like 2 years could have been better? Because people have got more time, more
That's a good point. I think for me personally, I think if it had been extended over 2 years, I'd probably have become complacent. Probably have become really complacent. But I think the intense nature of it and the time period that you have to do this course was actually quite a good reflection of what teaching is about. I mean, you are, particularly secondary, you are constantly on the go. Like, things happen very quick, and before you know it's the end of term. So it kind of mirrored your professional experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The intense nature of it, and everything affects. But if it had been extended over to, I think, certainly in terms of like maybe the theoretical sides, your what's called pedagogy, so that's your learning strategies, how you're teaching kids and different strategies and stuff like that. I think that would be a really good, sufficient time to sort of embed that. But in terms of everything else, I think it would just be too long. I think complacency would set in. I'd probably have gotten into some pretty bad habits. So,
because I noticed like recently lots of our students actually going to this route. But we are talking about these are very, very young people, 22, 23. And then like with 9 months intense course and then straight to the school. But it's a fair game if they can sustain, because these people are meant for that kind of job. Survived. So so they are tested properly.
I think, not that I'm saying I'm an amazing teacher, I'm still, this is my first proper full year in the profession. I was very lucky that I did so well at the school I'm currently at, that the head teacher actually wanted to expand our department and have another member of staff in, and he had me in mind for that. So I was really lucky, really lucky. But I think teachers with previous life experience, like in a different profession, or they've taken time out and they've had a family, or things like that, I think it does give them the edge. But the younger people coming into the profession, your 23-year-olds, people that have just finished they've come into university straight after school, they've done all the hires, they've gone to university, and then they're off to do their postgraduate training. I think they have an edge on perhaps creativity and really innovative ideas. I think they've really got that. But each their own. Plenty. There was a few in my cohort. There was a few young ones that were there, and I'm still in touch with them, and they're thriving. They're doing so well. But then that 75% I said, I think a vast bulk of that were the younger students that just weren't ready for it. So.
I'm just trying to like dig a bit more on this. This like what we can call it like retention. Go there and how many people actually survived. Because obviously government is spending money on this, serious amount of money. So do you think the selection process can be more rigorous than, so that these people are tested properly, then know that these people will sustain? Or do you think no? That's the way it is. I mean, you cannot do much.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, the way to get into the course is it's not, it's not an admissions tutor going through your application and sort of passing it on, and then the relevant university school decides, yeah, we'll have that person in. You do go for an interview in front of the academics that will be teaching you, who are very experienced teachers and also very experienced educational academics. So you can't really hide. You can't really hide from them. They can see right through you in that interview, and they interview you, and you have to be, when you go in there, you have to be very knowledgeable about Scottish education, the curriculum, pedagogy, and about yourself. The skills that you would bring, what you could do for a school, etc., etc. So it is quite a very nerve-wracking, intensive process. And I think through that process, a lot of the chaff does get knocked off a bit. But yeah, it's. I think it would perhaps benefit if there was maybe, I don't know, perhaps you had to do a mock lesson and they got to see you actually teaching and using your skills. That's an element, because you get, I mean, we had an NQT in my department, along with me in my subject, who had talked a very good game, but when it came down to it, knew absolutely nothing about modern studies, such as what I'm teaching, and knew absolutely nothing. Really, really struggled to get to grips with everything. And when a class of teenagers see that you don't know what you're talking about, God, they're relentless. They will not let you off the hook. So I think that there are a lot of people that go there and they talk a really good game. They sound very knowledgeable, but when it comes to the actual practical side, that's when they start to get knocked out of it. In terms of making it more robust, I really don't really have an answer for that, Abdullah. I mean, I find the process quite intensive. I mean, it was like a job interview. You had to know about the university, Scottish education. I mean, it was a really steep learning curve. I mean, I think I only had maybe 2 week turnaround before my interview, so I had to really know my stuff. I think the process leading up to the interview is quite intense. So
I was like following, because you are on my Facebook, so you are more or less like live updating your.
Yeah, kind of drop in here and there. Yeah.
I mean, you can see, like, I mean, you can sense it. It's very intense, and also, like, your own urge. You really wanted it.
Yeah.
I still remember, like, you were talking about like your math skill.
Yeah.
So, like, tell us about math, because math is one of my subject area. I never liked.
Do you think I teach maths?
No. I think, I think becoming a teacher, do you need some kind of math skill, or?
Yeah, you do. It's not only National 5 level, if you know what that means.
Yeah. But I mean,
English, but
math doesn't make sense. I mean, because you're becoming a like modern studies teacher. You cannot do any math.
Yeah, you need. Sorry, that's my dog. Yeah, you do. It's just part of the requirements. You do need some math skills. Some of the kids do exams where it's like a source-based question. The sort of statistics and graphs and things like that. So you need to have some sort of mathematical skill. But I always, that's what I said. I said, I don't know why I need to go and get my National 5 maths if I'm teaching modern studies, because I don't use it on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, but with maths, I mean, I barely scraped through the National 5 maths. I mean, I had to do that. It was an online course that you do through Aberdeen University. They give you the opportunity to get your higher English and maths, and I had to sit the exam twice. I failed the first time. I think I got a D for it, and then the second time I got an A. Thank God.
Well done.
Yeah.
You became a teacher.
Yeah.
Tell us about your first day in the school. First day, real day. You're facing the students for the first time.
God, you know what? It feels so long ago now. Well, obviously at that point, you know, the schools were allowed to come back after the first lockdown. So very, very serious. It was very clinical in terms of like all the hygiene products and everything. There's a clear routine, and you're always paranoid that you've got to do that. But my first lesson, I think it was with a second year class, and we were studying human rights, and I mean I was a bag of nerves. I'd been in 2 schools previously, and fine, but it was like there's weight of responsibility on you because this is like your first day in your career, and if you mess this up, then you know you're dead meat kind of thing. But yeah, we're doing human rights, and I was very sort of like getting myself tongue-tied, and I was like, oh my God. And then I remember just taking a moment and just stopping, breathing, and then we did this. It was just off the hoof. I came up with this, you know, that the class were galactic explorers and have discovered this Earth-like planet. Human beings have not touched it. It's pristine, and they're going to do things differently from the planet they've just come from, Earth, and they're going to create their own charter of human rights. And I thought, this is not going to work. And then all of a sudden, bang, the atmosphere changes. The kids absolutely loved it. We got this massive chart that spread across two whiteboards, and then they left it, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is good. And then from then, that day was just probably one of the best days of my life. Everything just fantastic. I was just on a roll.
Brilliant.
It was like nerves. It was like, oh my God, I don't. Why am I doing this? I'm not going to be able to do this. Yeah, I mean, doubts do creep in. For me, it was day one, and then I had that great day in that first lesson. It just worked so well, and then I've never looked back since. Never looked back since. So it's a great feeling. Great feeling.
I mean, especially like, I mean, you are teaching your subject area. You love politics. You love, you know, this political studies.
Yeah. Fortunate, you know, doing modern studies, which is, for those that don't know, it's a collection of political issues, social issues, and international issues and world powers. So at my school, we tend to do the USA and China. But I'm very fortunate that just after the holidays, I've now taken over higher politics. I'm now teaching higher politics. So at the moment, we're doing. We've just done things like political theory, so Lux and Weber on power, legitimacy, and authority. We're now on ideologies. We're just going through conservatism and the new right. And next time it's going to be comparing the constitutions of the United Kingdom and America and political systems. And then we look at political parties and elections and the use of media strategies and how political parties become successful. So yeah, I'm like a pig in muck at the moment. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. This is my bread and butter stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. Just like wondering, like, are you guys allowed to, you know, bring guest speaker?
Yes. Yeah, we are. Yeah. I mean, obviously with COVID regulations and stuff in schools at the moment, I think there is quite a limit on visitors at the moment. But we are out there, and it is something that we in the department are discussing about bringing people in. So.
I mean, especially like, you know, because you have got a good connection with politics, Dundee University.
Yeah.
You know, so people like Scott, me, you know, I've got colleagues. We'll be really happy. You don't have to pay a single penny for this. You know? We'll try
it's
ourselves. No, we'll be there, and then, you know, I think that will be good fun. I actually did some sessions with Dundee High a couple of years ago. Yeah. So I'm quite, but I mean, I think my sessions are not for particular classes, for the whole school.
Yeah, yeah.
I was talking on like Palestine-Israel thing, so it's quite.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because I actually mentioned that last week to my new boss. My previous boss has just retired, and I mentioned about why don't we look at Dundee University and see about any the academics, or even do a live, the sort of into class or something like that. Yeah, so that's something I'll definitely take back tomorrow and keep that back. That'd be really good.
I mean, even like if you want to do so what I do like normally, I actually do a podcast session with a guest speaker, and then share with my students. So that's another way to do it. So like you and me can talk on a particular subject area, and just like conversation. And your ideas, my ideas, and then because the politics is all about this like dialogue,
Sharing of ideas. No, that would be great.
So I'm quite happy to work with you, and because I mean, part of me, I always do this kind of stuff. I do lots of other things. I especially like during this like lockdown. So like Zoom and these things created serious opportunity for.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I really love to go to places.
Yeah.
I mean, now I decided that I've got no shame anymore, so I can. So like my daughters also said, "Dad, don't go there. You will embarrass yourself." Because I don't care. So I mean, I'm also like lucky a bit involved in like left politics as well. So the left politics do lots of this kind of social event, and I do like things like this like Rohingya people in Myanmar.
Yeah,
that's been like a big part of my research and teaching as well. So like lots of people have got interest in this subject area, and also Palestine, Israel as well.
Oh yeah.
So like I get lots of these kind of invitations, and I go there,
Yeah.
And because I mean, there's nothing to lose here. I can learn from my audience as well. But like most of the cases, the audience is extremely kind. So which really helps. And I think part of me also think that I'm a teacher. That's part of my job actually. To make that connection to the society, to the community, to the world.
Absolutely.
So like these are the things. So I think people like you just came out from the university. You've got all kind of ideas. Lots of people as well. They've got good network. So you can actually in a positive way you can use those resources around you.
Yeah.
And
absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll be there for you definitely. I just like want to do a couple of like teacher and the person.
Okay.
Person, like do you think your life changed the way you have been in your previous life, like pre-teaching life?
In what way?
Like in your like social way, in your the way, because you were suddenly a teacher, so so you are going to a pub as a teacher. You are going to.
Oh, right. So do you know what? Contrary to popular belief, teachers are actually very normal people. They will have a few pints. They will swear it. I've become more extrovert. But pre-teaching, I was very introverted, very much a lone wolf, and that even when I was doing my undergraduate at Dundee, although my time was hampered with personal stuff that was out of my control, I did take it very seriously, and I didn't push myself to make those like lifelong friends and engage in the social side. It was all about sitting in that library, reading books, writing essays, things that I was interested in, going to classes, and then going home. Now it is very much. I'm so lucky that in my department, some of the best people you'll ever meet, some of the kindest, most resilient, most normal people you'll ever meet, and they're bags of fun. And it's made me more confident and extroverted. So yeah, I will go and, I won't sit for hours and hours doing work. And, I will go to the pub and have a pint and just chat about Boris Johnson and his hair, or how straight his tie is, or all those sorts of things. Yeah. So yeah, my life has changed in that, like personally in that regard. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean, so like we teach in the university, and like we work more or less now 24/7.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the rules in your, this professional setting? I mean, do you have to work after 5? Things like that. You have to catch up. So you have to bring your stuff at home.
No, well, there was. I think it was 2001. There was a guy called McCrone who made a report saying that teachers do not have to work past their contracted hours. There's no obligation. Once that bell goes, you can go home. But even though we do have that protection, the powers that be sort of frown on that. So there is an expectation that you stay behind at the end of the day and you wrap up things, you do marking, you catch up with emails, you prepare for the next lesson. But we are very much allowed to work. Our contract hours are 8:15 to 4:25, and we're allowed to leave after that. In terms of timetable, I mean, this year my timetable is absolutely jam-packed. It's massive, my timetable. But we have what's called non-contact periods. So for me, I'm on what's classed as minimum. So I have 6 protected 3 periods, and that's for course development, marking, anything that's my protected time. And I'm right on minimum. So we have things called please take. So if a teacher is absent, you may get a cover request to go and cover that class.
Okay.
Because of my protected time and I'm right on minimum, I don't need to do that. I don't get called for please takes. But if your timetable is a bit freer, then you'd be all over the school covering classes. So, but to be honest, I do work. I'm contracted for 35 hours a week. I easily could work 60 hours a week. Easily. If you factor in all the time I do at home and weekends and stuff, holidays as well. I mean, we just had it over holidays and I was in school doing coursework and setting up my classroom and all that stuff. So yeah, you do live and breathe it, but what I'm trying to do is to try and delegate things. If there's a piece of marking that doesn't need to be done for the next 2 weeks, then I'm trying to leave it and spending free time and that family time. So I think it's absolutely crucial because you'll just find yourself completely burned out.
Yeah. Like in terms of like your typical day, like a typical day, like how many hours actual teaching normally, not you, like the like average teacher.
The average teacher, yeah. So Monday to Wednesday we have 7 periods that are 50 minutes each. So what's that? That's, you could be teaching almost 7 hours a day class contact time.
Actual physical
teaching, yeah.
That's quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, we Scotland, the OECD did a recent report. They were reviewing curriculum for excellence, and they actually said that Scotland has the highest class contact time in Europe, in the developed world, and it is having an curriculum for excellence is about this freedom and choice and sort of giving teachers the space to be creative. However, we have the highest level of class contact time in the developed world. So that there is a disparity there that you can't really sort of we can't meet, we can't connect it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, we are in the classroom a lot. So I mean, during a day, I mean, most days I have maybe one free period, and I have to get, I mean, what do I do? I have to do lessons, redevelop it, and I may have had a pile of higher politics essays that I need to mark. And then somebody comes into my class and they need to see me, or I need to go to a meeting, a last minute meeting, and then before I know it, I'm back in the classroom. I've not had that time to do that development. So you're kind of catching your tail all the time, For me personally, I think there needs to be something government level where we need class contact time cut to give a really good quality experience for young people. This sort of mad dash between period to period, it's not good. I do know that the Scottish Government are consulting about cutting our class contact time by, I think, an hour and a half. Which is, it's a good start, but it's not going to have a major impact.
But like other side of the argument is we just need more teachers on the ground.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And there is a recruitment problem. I mean, we've had, I think, the last 2 years the highest number of students entering the sort of teacher training programs, but the local authorities just cannot retain them. And we've got chronic shortage in some subject areas. Just cannot, and school budgets are strapped as well. Particularly with coronavirus. I know my school's having issues with budgets, and they're having to cost cut and save money. It's just madness.
Because that's one of the things like makes me really, really angry. Like why the education sector, they need to be careful about the budget, about the money. These are the sectors, these are the sectors we have to invest. And so, like we can invest like $2.3 trillion in, war for 20 years. And ask questions about this, and then the education and the health sector. So just like unbelievable. So I was talking to my class the other day, and I asked them that, can you just try to find how many nuclear warhead the USA has right now? So they found that it's like over 5,000 now.
That we know of.
Yeah, so they're over 5,000. And then one student found that in 2020, it was actually less than 5,000. So like what really happened like last, like in 3-4 months? Like was America got attacked by someone, or like, why there is a rush of another 300, 400 nukes? I mean, so then I was asking the class that, like, how does it work? The State Department comes with this, ask like bunch of citizens, you have got a choice. You want healthcare or nukes? And then it looks like people actually chose for nukes. I mean, I don't think people chose that. It just, it's already decided for them that you need nukes, not like healthcare or like education. So we are talking about America's, this like wasteland of this opioid crisis, serious problem.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, and then you're saying, so like, I mean, for a nuclear weapons, you need $1 billion, $1 billion any given day.
No.
So like, I mean, who's doing it? Like, I mean, who what's happening? Like, I mean, we don't know about these things. Just happen.
It's just absolutely crazy. I know it's really funny, that we need to increase spending on things like education. America. I'm probably going to go on a rant here, but America calls itself the greatest democracy on earth. The only developed nation, Western nation, that can't give its citizens paid family leave, even for 4 weeks, they're still fighting over that. Can't even have universal healthcare. I mean, it's the wealthiest country on earth, and they can't divide their country.
But at the same time, the most unequal country.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that at the moment I'm teaching social inequalities in the United States with my national classes, and I was updating all the figures, and I was absolutely astonished that any nation could allow this level of inequality. I mean, Los Angeles, I mean, there's an entire strip full of homeless people in the middle of the city, and it's just, nobody bats an eyelid, but yet we can shove another $70 billion to the Pentagon and not audit it. We don't know where it's going, you know, and America, you know, it's just. I was kind of happy that Trump was president a bit, because I think it sort of knocked the shine off the United States a little bit. I think it sort of, not that I'm a Trump supporter, for goodness sake, no. But I think when Trump was elected, I was kind of like, well, America's kind of got its just desserts. Here's, you know, leaving your citizens languishing, and this is what you get, you know. I thought it would be a wake-up call, but
I mean, like with me, like, you know, of this, like my kind of Marxist background, you know, this, like, I think people like Trump are also important, because then these people create, you know, this kind of clash on the ground. So, like, you know, this thesis, antithesis, and then, you know, out of these two clashes, we can get the synthesis, which is like the better version. So without this hiccup, we will not learn, you know, things, you know. So, like, you know, in 10 years' time, people will like go back to those, you know, those 4 years, the things we did. I mean, and it looked like, you know, it was normal during that time. You know, suddenly he came up with, like, you know, Donald J. Trump. From this moment, you know, all the Muslims are banned from coming to this. So, like, I mean, what does it mean even? So,
the philosophers are dull, I think.
I mean, it looks like, you know, like those things became just normal, and then.
I know. I mean, God, you look at America now, and they've just completely lost their minds. It's amazing how entrenched it is. You know, this MAGA camp, and then everybody else. I mean, it's, you know, if this continues, there is. I know it sounds quite over dramatic, but there is real potential for civil conflict, I think, or some form of revolution, or, you know, I mean, it almost happened on January the 6th with the Capitol riot. You know, they could have, you know, if there was more numbers there, and more of them were armed, good God, they could have overthrown the political system, you know.
And like, even like if there were like defection in the army, do you see?
Yeah.
Because like suddenly you thought that, oh my God, I actually don't know this country or these people.
No, yeah. I think it's the same in this country as well, with you know, Brexit really sort of just put people in their camps and stuff as well. It's just, you know, it's so divisive.
Like, I mean, one of the things that really, you know, like hurts me, that, you know, when poor people, the working class, you know, vote for the ruling class at their own peril. I mean, it's like, you know, I don't know, like, is there any, like, Freudian theory about this, you know? And then try to explain myself that perhaps, you know, defunding education, all those things, actually part of the game. Because, you know, and then people are so, you know, wretched and so poor, you know, because then they will not think properly.
Yeah, no,
they will decide things under duress.
Yeah, I know, they'll latch onto any sort of hope. You know, I think there's mirrors of that in America at the moment, with Biden and this fight over the reconciliation bill and this bipartisan infrastructure deal, and you have two senators that are walking about like they're president and vice president, and people really believed, they there was an article I read, and they were interviewing voters, and I said, I don't like Biden much, but I believe that he will give me something tangible that will transform my life, and then, he passes that, the COVID bill with the child tax credit and all that stuff, and people are, this is great, and then he wants to make it more permanent through this reconciliation bill, and the governing party is negotiating with itself. Stripped out so many transformative programs that America could easily afford, And now and I think there's a reflection. We've just had governor elections in Virginia, for example. They've not had a Republican beat the Democrat there, and it's particularly the poor and the working class who are now just absolutely fed up, and I think that's really dangerous, because they won't engage with the political process, they won't vote, and then we have perhaps a Trump 2.0, who's a bit smarter, a bit more organised, knows the system really well. I mean, it's so dangerous.
I'm not like America's foreign policy expert or domestic politics expert, but I think my understanding is, I think it's like more a structural problem. The structure built on, with the 18th century's structure.
Yeah.
I think it's just not working.
No.
It's not sustainable anymore. So lots of things are now opening up, and I think as a country who used to behave like an empire, now she don't know what to do with this. So Black Lives Matter, all those rights are now coming up to the forefront, but at the same time, society is also changing a bit, accepting those things that we have to move on, but at the same time there is serious resistance as well, so it's quite difficult time.
It's definitely a period of transition. I mean, historically there's always these periods, and I think the American population, if you see the polling and the research data on their views on certain social issues, they are left wing on almost every major social, abortion, on homosexuality, LGBTQ rights. They're supremely left wing, but then you have this sort of minority that's this is like the last breath of white America. That sort of deep south right wing, sort of traditional conservative, and I think Trump was sort of their sort of manifestation of that. But I think I'm optimistic. I think the United States will come through this and probably be a better country for it. And I think that's the same all across Europe, even in Turkey. I think we're just going through a period of transition, and
I mean, you can see why this is a period of transition. If you look at even yesterday's news in UK, so this particular MP did something really bad thing, and then the parliament decided, that's fine, don't worry about this. And that guy came to the news and said, I mean, if I've given the chance, I'll do it again. So you say, so these are the time, these are the time people do these kind of things, and then people also said, oh, that's not right, and then that can create serious, mobilization by the general public. And then did you see that the government today came up with, do you know what?
We can't, because the opposition parties aren't going to be involved in these things, so they'd be sitting there judging themselves. So of course they had to. But honestly,
but you can see the old guards. I mean, so complacent. Says, people will not mind. They'll listen to us. But I think that complacency will be gone very soon.
Yeah.
I think, if you look at the Europe or, all those big countries, OECD countries, we're talking about this unequal society is getting worse and worse every year.
Yeah, it is.
And on the other hand, we are seeing this rise of the millionaires and the billionaires. I mean, I could not think of that. UK actually has got over 200 billionaires.
That's crazy.
Tiny island, it has got over 200 billionaires. I mean, who are these people? Who are these people?
Crazy, and giving them a tax cut, and yet we take 20 quid off of people on universal credit who really need that money. It's just nuts. There is quite a awakening up to it now, and I think also the climate crisis is kind of helping us do that, and trying, and COVID as well, how we can have a different society, a different country. So hopefully,
I can sense it. I mean, Leigh, you are very positive. You are very optimistic. You are kind. I mean, I'm kind of, I'm becoming older, so I'm becoming more, like disgruntled. Like
so
it's like the biggest loot happening, in the world at the moment during the worst crisis of one of those this like last 2 centuries. I mean, it's just like mind-boggling. The climate change is such a serious crisis, and then you can see the popular media, and then it's almost like any country is like 50-50 divide. It's like open and shut case. If you don't do it, we'll be in trouble, man. Perhaps you'll not be the first man to be in trouble, but countries like Bangladesh will be gone.
It's already happening. I mean, we are. It's not over dramatic to say we are really running out of time. Really running. We are going to cross the line where it's irreversible. And something serious needs to happen. And to be honest, I think we need to transition away from the capitalist system. To be honest, if we're going to solve climate change, capitalism either has to be completely torn apart and reformed, or it has to go. It has to, because the capitalist system is feeling this crisis as well. This constant, this constant needs, churning out goods, consumption, just unmitigated consumption. It's destroying this. I mean, we only get one planet, and we are destroying it for our own greed, for more money in our wallets, for that nicer car, for the bigger house. So yeah, we need it's not just policy wise. I think there needs to be a global psychological shift. Our psychology needs to change. Yeah, I think it's just multifaceted. It's just
one of this this recurrent theme in my life, in my teaching. I always talk about this particular film. It's called Melancholia by Lars von Trier. I'm not sure what it is. So it
rings a bell. I'm sure I've seen it.
So it's like doomsday kind of film. The world might actually be gone. So the story is like about two sisters. Two sisters are seeing this event unfolding in front of them, but they are actually taking this whole episodes in a totally different way. So the one sister is just breaking down that this is our planet. What will happen to our children? So they will not have that the things we got. But the other sister's position is, it's quite powerful the way she talked in that film. The dialogue was, so she's telling her sister, who's actually really distraught about the whole things happening, says, why do you care? This planet is evil planet. That's quite a powerful, sentence. This planet is an evil planet. And she said that because we actually made this planet just an evil planet. It's not the planet itself made it. It's just us. We made this planet an evil planet. You see, this planet has got two kind of face. The one face is struggling, it's like unfolding tragedies every day.
Yeah.
Other side is story is greed
Mm.
and selfishness, and then the power, and then the destruction and the oppression, the suppression, war, violence, all those things. I mean, so like how to reconcile this like two faces of this one planet? I mean, no, I think you don't need to talk like this to your class because those are very young kids, no?
Yeah. No.
So I'm in a like privileged position, but sometimes why did you tell this story? Now I'm like
Yeah, I know.
I'm really now upset. These are the things we will face soon. This will come home. This war will come home, and then you have to decide what you really want to do now.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
You can see like this COP26 happening in Glasgow. It's just like, and the two countries, like the two main countries, like Russia and China, did not come in.
Yeah, I know.
It's not like they are communist. They are not communist. No, they are capitalist. Both are, running this capitalism on steroid. So it's just insane. The things we are seeing. The children are watching it.
Yeah. There's, there's a real pessimism amongst a lot of the kids that I see day to day. They are just pessimistic about everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh well, why should we bother? Because we've doomed the planet anyway, and yeah, they just there is a sort of chronic lack of confidence in them a bit, and I'm trying to sort of kick that out of them a bit, But yeah, God, they turn on the news and it's destruction, corruption, sleaze, lies. It's and it just drips feed, and they carry it with them, which is worrying because they're the future. We need them. We need them optimistic and painting the horizon and leading us there by the hand, painting on the big canvas. This is the future. We need them to have that mindset. But yeah, at the moment, there is this chronic pessimism that does worry me a bit.
And like people like you, like who are in the front line. So I think it's not simple. You guys have serious responsibility.
Oh God, yeah. And we feel it. We do feel it.
Because I think this way, that way, these young people will trust you guys first, isn't it?
Yeah, we probably, a lot of these kids, we spend more time with them than we do their own parents, And that's a huge responsibility as well, because, they're looking to us, they're learning from us, Yeah, you do feel that. You do feel that.
Especially, these young kids, they have got their own life as well, their own setting, their own, social life, own Twitter, own Facebook,
God.
The information is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it's like America, 74 million people voted for Trump. So you see how fractured the society is. So all these kids are actually going to school, the same school. Especially if you come from that kind of background and go to a school, who talks about the climate change. So these people will be
up in arms. Yeah.
So it's just so unfair to those very young people, because the two world.
We are where we are at the moment, but hopefully it'll get better. Hopefully there'll be.
So what else we want to talk? Do anything else I missed out? Last 6-7 years. Because you were anything, major thing happens. You really want to share, or it's kind of light bulb moment. Kind of thing, or any joys. Because it looks like you have got a family now, isn't it?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Do you have kids as well?
I'm engaged. I have 2 boys.
So like how old they are?
They are now 9 and 6.
Oh my God, that's quite busy household.
Yeah. So, stressful job. Living life. Hopefully, this is not behind me.
My memory with you, I mean, you were such a good guy, My plan is to so that you can do PhD and you can.
Well, a few weeks ago, you
Dr.
dropped.
Leigh Douglas, like.
I mean, a few weeks ago, you dropped that little seed in my head, and it's been sat there ever since. Like, oh, yeah, that's yeah.
But I mean, you never know. You might, because I mean, I think there are lots of options there for you. You can do a like professional doctorate degree. You can.
Yeah.
You are still doing teaching, and you can still do part-time doctorate.
Yeah.
And I think that there are lots of school teachers are now have got doctorate.
Yeah, quite a few of them do. Yeah, I mean, see, the problem was that and I know the last time we saw each other, which was a few years ago now, that we were exploring PhD ideas and we were thinking. And the problem is I have so many interests. It's just all over the place. Hunting it down to a specific thing that would be very worthwhile doing research on. Carving out my own tiny little niche in the sort of academic world, I've so many interests, interested in Middle Eastern politics, interested in the European Union and its relationship with the Middle East, because I think that's quite interesting.
And also, you were very keen about this like power transition thing theory.
Yeah. It's funny because I mean I've watched all your podcasts, which have been absolutely fantastic, and my favourite one was the one with Scott. And talking about power transition theory, and I was like, oh yeah, I've just sort of recently discovered that, and yeah, it was really good. I'm interested in China and this idea of international power, and theoretically, I'm kind of all over the place. There's so many different theories that I find interesting. So, international relations focused or political, or because that's sort of my real
I mean, especially like when you're teaching now in real life, so obviously you have to do lots of research yourself as well. So one of the things you can also do is like you are doing some research on particular topic area and you found lots of good material, and you want to expand a bit more. And I'm quite happy to if you want to share those new idea you got.
I'm gonna get that, Abdullah. I'm gonna be on that, like every day.
This happens for me as well. Like semester time, you have to reread stuff. You have to do more research. You have to do like more up-to-date stuff, and then you think, oh my God, I just did that. So this is fantastic. I want to talk about these things. I mean, like my ideal teacher was, I think you might remember, like Edward Said. So Edward Said.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not only like he was a Columbia University professor, high-profile professor, but also he was all over the places.
Yeah.
He was doing all kind of public engagement. He was going to the community. He was going to the Middle East. He was going to America, France, Paris, wherever, and he's there talking about things he just learned. That's kind of like my ideal teacher, who is like teacher for everyone. Not only for Columbia University, did you see? But also it kind of burnt him up as well, because he died very early.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the other side of the story, because you just expose yourself too much, and then he was not taking care of himself. So that's the other thing. So so that's part of our lesson as well for today's session is like so don't overdo things. Try to take care of yourself. Try to take care of your dog. Go for a walk. Do some gardening. Take care of kids. Go those social events. Those things are part and parcel. Because
I mean, it doesn't just go for us as professionals. I mean, I would say to students as well, for goodness sake, you know, it's not all about essays and cramming in that reading for tutorials, and you know, you do need to undergraduate. Yeah, it's 4 years, or for those of you like me that got advanced entry straight into second year, it is very intense, and you will burn out very quickly. Very quickly. But for goodness sake, please have that time for yourself, especially just now. You know, we've been through hell for 2 years, and get back at university and picking up your studies, and please do just that time for yourself, recover, recuperate, charge your batteries, you know. But yeah, I want to do a PhD, Abdullah. I really want to do a PhD.
One day.
One day.
Yeah. And I'm really happy. I'm really proud of you, what you have been doing. So, you know, so hope, you know, everything works out perfect for you. It looks like you are already enjoying. So we can share lots of your things with us, no?
That'd be fantastic. Yeah. It's good to see it. Really good to see you.
So thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
I'll see you soon. Okay.
Okay. See you soon. You take care, Bill. Okay.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. See you later.